Welcome into the Dad Verb Podcast. Topics around parenting from the lens of a dad.
Hey everybody, welcome into episode 2 of the Dad Verb Podcast. I'm your host, one of your hosts, Ben. We have on the line Muamer and Andrew Saunders. Welcome everybody. How's everybody doing?
How's it going?
Good. We are doing episode 2 of the revamped, revitalized, re-brought to life Dad Verb Podcast. And today we're going to talk about a topic that we have discussed in a previous episode, but we're going to get some new voices, some new angles, maybe some new thoughts around the dreaded word. It's 2 words we all hate to hear. Well, we don't really hate to hear them. We're parents that live in the real world, but it's screen time, right? It's something that's got kind of a really bad rap over the last several years as more and more studies have come out and we understand more and more about the effects of screen time on kids. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a millennial. I'm 38. I had parents that worked, and screen time was a pretty regular thing for me. But now we know a little bit more. We've learned a little bit more about the impact of screen time, and especially, what we'll call our, garbage screen time, right? Bad shows on your kids, their behavior, impact on their weight, their overall health, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to look at it from a couple of different angles and just discuss not only what some of the data has to say, but what the experience of screen time is in real life, and maybe some of the things we do to combat that or not in our lives, right? We're all realistic. We're all dads that live in the real world. We all have stuff we need to do, house chores, dishes, and sometimes your kids are under your feet, and putting on a screen is it's helpful for all of our sanity. So before we get into that, we got to do a sick check. So Saunders, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm
something to say, though.
Yeah, I'm laughing at how much you're like, I really want to say screen time is bad, and then I'm also saying I use screen time because I don't have another out. Like, the dichotomy is just making me chuckle. Sick check. All right, we're good. No, runny noses have stopped for the most part. There are no SIM cards in our noses anymore. All nasal passages are clean and flowing freely with oxygen this week.
Awesome. Muamer, sick check. How are the kids?
Thankfully, everyone is still in the green and in the clear.
Awesome. Same here. That is 2 episodes, 2 separate weeks in a row that everybody has been healthy.
We need a little graphic that we can put up, like 2 weeks.
I know. I know. 2 days without a work-related accident.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, awesome, guys. Well, we're going to hop into our topic, but before we do, I've got a couple of stats that I pulled together around screen time just to set the context and understand kind of what our conversation is about, right? Like we know screen time has really kind of been more or less vilified, right, over the last couple of years. I think it really started off in the kind of crunchy mom space of like, don't put your kids in front of screens, don't raise an iPad kid. But there are some real world effects on kids when they're using screens consistently. And I know that's kind of our experience at home. That's something that we've, struggled with just in our parenting journey is how much do we let our kids access screens? Because even for us, and this was surprising for me, our son started kindergarten this year, and they all got Chromebooks. So our 5-year-old has his own computer that he uses for schoolwork. Yes. Yeah. It's why I didn't think they were going to get them, but they all have Chromebooks. They use them for homework and games and it's mostly learning stuff, but it is an additional screen, right? So just a couple of quick stats here, right? Children aged 8 to 18 in the US spend an average of about 7.5 hours on screens. That's between TVs, smartphones, computers, tablets. And among those kids, age 6 to 14, the average daily screen time is about 3 hours, and about 46% have at least 2 hours of screen time a day. And for kids that are younger than 2, about 25% of them meet the guidelines for 0 screen time. So really, they shouldn't be getting any screen time at all, according to, I believe, the American Academy of Pediatrics and some other research that's come out in terms of how it impacts their overall cognitive function, their behavior, their weight management, and their activity. And speaking of weight, a study found that children spending 2 or more hours on screens had a 42% greater risk of being overweight. So, right, we have all these stats. We've got all these facts and figures that say screen time is bad. Screen time is bad. You shouldn't let your kids have screens, especially under a certain age. But again, we all live in the real world. We're all grown-ups. We all have limited time and, let's be honest, mental capacity sometimes to deal with our kids. And every now and then, a screen is going to help us get the things done that we need to do. And to be honest, I think I'm of the opinion that I think screen time can be a good thing in certain situations or in certain scenarios. It can be a tool to connect with your kids. But I want to bring it back to you guys, right? So, we have screens in our house. We've got TVs in every room. We all have smartphones and tablets and all that. But Saunders, I want to start with you. So your kids are relatively young.
Mhm.
I know, you're a big movie guy, big movie buff.
I am.
And that's been one of the things that you've really connected with your kids through. So what are your thoughts on screen time? Kind of when did you start allowing them to be around screens or watching TV or shows? And then we'll kind of get into like the impacts or behavioral stuff a little bit later in the episode.
When did I allow? I mean, to be perfectly honest, right? They've been in front of screens from the moment they came from the hospital. I mean, I've talked about that before. I've been holding them, and we were watching shows at night. Now, whether or not they were watching, whether or not they were able to focus on the screen, who knows? But I mean, I think my eldest watched like an entire season of Law and Order SVU with me, but before she was a year old, right? So like, if there's trauma coming, I know where it's from. Okay. But the first time we did Blippi, YouTube, and my wife got to the point where she couldn't handle Blippi anymore because he invoked too much movement in the point was for them to kind of settle down and learn something. And Blippi is great for explore your world and kind of getting kids to figure that out, in my opinion. But at some point, he is just an energizer. He is not teaching them anymore. And I want to say, like, the second kid's always got the short end of that stick, because the first, you're like doing stuff for the oldest, and the second kid's just like tagging along. So she definitely got screen time a lot younger. But I don't look at we have one TV in our household. One. It's in the living room. And it basically goes, whatever dad's watching, everybody's watching. Whatever mom's watching, everybody's watching. The girls don't get a choice unless dad or mom aren't watching the TV. And they don't really ask for shows, or they didn't until maybe 3 months ago. Now they know, like, Paw Patrol exists. They know Spider-Man exists. The eldest does. My youngest doesn't ask for shows yet. What I consider screen time are these little guys, right? iPads, phones, stuff like that. We did not do any kind of interactive touch screen stuff until our daughter was ready for preschool. And so she was 2 years, 6 months. And I went down, I downloaded ABC Mouse, and she plays ABC Mouse on her phone or on her iPad with her headphones on. 30, 40 minutes, and she made it all the way through preschool stage 2 or 3 before she kind of was like, okay, I'm done. Like, that's cool, but she actually disengaged from it herself. I didn't, like, it just wasn't entertaining for her anymore. The younger one, we started trying to do the toddler stuff, but again, she wasn't interested in it. So I think for us, screen time isn't, I don't look at it as like, I spend more time staring at a screen than they do. So I don't think it's an issue as much as the world wants people to think, as long as your kids have other sources of entertainment. Like, they are more likely to pick up their Magna-Tiles or build their fort or build the wooden train or play with their Duplos than they are to just sit in front of a show. That being said, less than 2 hours ago, after dinner, they were sat down in front of the Magic School Bus, and one of them fell asleep within the first episode, and the other one sat there quietly and watched it for 2 episodes while we visited, and then it was okay, it's bedtime, right? So
yeah,
I don't know, like I use it, and I use it as a tool, but I don't use it as a babysitter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I think,
Muamer, what about you?
yeah, I was gonna say, I think the key distinction there is the screen of the TV versus the screen of like a phone or a tablet. I had a stat too. So in 2000, 98% of households owned at least one TV, which I don't think that's changed. So it's like, yeah, screens have always been around. And I think it's that in the age of social media, especially, we're talking about it more. And the key is, in my mind, it's not necessarily the experience of the TV, because that's a shared experience, right? You talked about Saunders, like you guys sitting there together, watching a movie, or just having it be a community and a family thing, versus something like a phone or an iPad that is a purely individualistic experience. And I think that's when the toddlers and the babies, anyone using it at that the kid age, it becomes I have control. I tell you what and like it's just a different mindset versus like mom or dad is watching this. And with our kids, I would say probably like 6 to 12 months in, we did start with Miss Rachel, the quintessential type of experience, and maybe one or two others I can't remember. But as they've gotten a little bit older, especially now, my 3-year-old, even the 2.5-year-old, will ask for like Spidey or Wild Kratts. And sometimes they'll wake up in the morning and we're making breakfast, and it's a Saturday morning cartoon kind of day. But we let them know that like, hey, it's not Spidey, it's a little bear, or it's a wild, it's something a little bit more relaxing, and because there's definitely a difference in the type of shows and what they'll watch. Number blocks is a huge one. And so for us, it's really about like that collective experience and using it as a way to get them to engage and to learn, and to just know that there's a difference between watching a screen for entertainment and watching a screen for educational purposes in this instance. And we typically only do iPads if we're traveling, or if we're on somewhere like where the routine's gone. So it's seen as like a reward. So like if we're going on a plane or if we're going on a long car ride, that's when they get it. And Saunders, we're close to you. I'll say like we really only have one TV in the house. I have one in my office, but that's just for me to work. No one else uses it. So similar kind of thing. It's in the living room, and that's what everybody uses. I am also 100% in the camp of, I think I'm the one with the screen problem. And so that's why when these conversations happen, it resonates so much with people because they feel so strongly about it. I mean, if I just go in now and look at my screen time, I'm kind of nervous.
That's what I was just doing. I was grabbing my phone to be like, how bad am I?
I mean, the last week, my daily, I average is 6 hours and 2 minutes. And I know there's a mix between like work and not work, but still like 6 hours a day that's a lot.
And that's just looking at your phone.
Yeah, that's not including the computer. I think that's where parents and people will get so opinionated about this, is we also realize we're probably the problem without saying it, and then trying to figure out how to balance that.
I left Facebook for almost 8 weeks straight this summer because I popped open screen time one night and I was like, okay, let's just look at it. I had spent 3 hours that day on Facebook, and I know I was scrolling reels the whole time. 3 hours doing this. And that was the moment where I'm like, nope, this has to stop. And so I literally went in and deleted the Facebook app from my phone. I actually did it. I have a friend who would have just tried to murder me for saying literally when I meant actually. I actually went in and deleted the Facebook app on my phone. I didn't delete Instagram because we were still using it for some of this stuff. It dropped immediately. I was amazed at like the way my brain changed almost right away, and it was all about that scroll. And what I found myself doing was I would open LinkedIn to get the fix on scroll, and I'm like, no, like I noticed I was searching it out, right?
Fix.
It was really weird, and so again, when I brought Facebook back to my phone, I put a 30-minute timer on it. it locks and it tells me, it's like, hey, you've been doing this for 30 minutes. So you want to stop? And I'm like, yes, I do. Thank you, self, for like adulting me properly. And
Yeah.
I think we as parents have the responsibility to protect our kids from that, right? It's hard when the school sends home a Chromebook, but
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, we kind of manage our screen time the same way, right? Like our kids are 5 and our daughter will be 3 in February, and they've been exposed to screens, the majority of their life. We've never been real sticklers for keeping them away from it. What we are conscious of, though, is one, as you guys mentioned, right? There's sort of 2 ways that you can use screens. You can use them as a distraction, because I just need my kids to sit quietly for a minute or go play or do something while I'm in the middle of a task. The other side of that you guys have mentioned that I think is really good is using it as either a tool or a way to connect as a family. So for us, like Friday night is, pizza and movie night. That's something we do every single week. We pick a movie, we all sit down and watch it together. We do our best to, put our phones down, put everything away, and just be engaged in whatever we're watching with the kids, asking questions, getting excited, whatever it is. We also try to be conscious of the types of shows that they're watching. So like our kids don't watch Peppa Pig at all, because, she's sort of notoriously rude to her family and poorly behaved. We don't want that type of behavior reflected in our kids. So when they are watching shows, they might watch, Spidey, or my son's gotten really into Ninja Turtles lately. So we just watched the entire like live action trilogy over the last couple of days. My son is super into Star Wars because I'm really into Star Wars. So that's something that we share. But we'll sit down and watch that together, right? I'm not just plugging him in front of the TV for 4 hours and just letting him watch unending episodes. And one thing I think it's important to mention too is there's a big difference in the quality of shows. So I forgot what the website is, and I'll look it up and try to put it in the show notes. But there is a website that will tell you hear this term called low stimulation, right? When it comes to kids shows. So there's certain elements of shows like really high contrast colors. So think of like Cocomelon. It's very repetitive. There's a lot of high contrast colors. There's a lot of very quick scene changes. And what that does is it actually fires off the fight or flight response in your kids. So what I've noticed is that when my kids watch a higher stimulation show, like my son loves Blaze and the Monster Machines. It's basically a STEM show, but it's a lot of high contrast. It's a lot of movement. It's a lot of high energy music. If you really pay attention to your kids, their behavior changes when they watch shows that really stimulate them. And there's 100%. Been a lot of research to show like kids will actually start to self-soothe if they're watching a show that's too stimulating. So if you watch your kids, if they start to like rock back against the couch, they're actually self-soothing. It's a soothing technique because the show is stimulating them to the point where they think they're, being attacked in some way. So one of the big things we found is not only seeking out lower stimulation shows, like some of the ones we really love are Stillwater on Apple TV, which is like, it's a super slow paced show. And it's basically centered around this like panda that's a neighbor, and he like meditates and teaches them all kinds of lessons about life, but they're very slow. Tumbleleaf is another good one that we really like for our kids. It's on Amazon Prime. And then we've even gone back to a lot of the older shows that either I used to watch as a kid or were around when I was younger. So like Little Bear, Bear in the Big Blue House.
We'll do
Shape
Little Bear
Island
a lot.
is a good one. Shape Island.
Another good one on Netflix is Trash Truck.
Trash Truck is really solid. Yeah, Trash Truck is really good. It's a very kind of low stimulation show, kind of relaxed, slower pacing. But if you watch the shows your kids are watching, you can kind of tell it's like feeding them candy, right? It's like basically mainlining sugar into their brain when they watch a high stim show. And so we do try to use it, sometimes as a tool to get things done, but we're conscious of what we're putting on. And one of the things I do want to talk about too, that I think is interesting, right, is there's a difference between watching shows either with your kid and engaging with them and making it a like family event versus, like you said, Saunders, that sort of individual, like I hand them the iPad and they can basically do whatever they want
Right.
unsupervised. There is a big difference between that, because it feels like the big difference is I'm either connecting with you or I'm sort of keeping you away from me. And I would assume that leads to some sort of, whether it's separation anxiety or, thinking that a show is going to soothe me, kind of that emotional relationship to the show that we want to try to avoid, right? We want to make it a thing that's a privilege and not something that they just automatically get to do.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but how do I unwind at the end of the night? I plop on whatever garbage show my brain thinks is the next greatest thing, and I spend 2 hours like, it's time to soothe Andrew's brain, right? And here I am 3 episodes deep of Below Deck, and I'm going, why am I watching this garbage? Like, why am I watching 20-somethings on a yacht bicker about who slept with whom? Like, this is what I find relaxing, apparently. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. Or, half a dozen episodes of Grey's Anatomy on a weekend to be like, it doesn't make sense, but it's how I was wired up as a kid. That is relaxing. That is
And I think
soothing.
that's key, is like, how can you find those steps in your personal life as the adult to show like what I could do instead? I've tried to, especially at night, replace the doom scrolling and like the quick fix with, throwing my AirPods in and trying to listen to an audiobook or a podcast. Download the Dad Verb Podcast. Nice plug. But that's what I've slowly tried to shift towards, because I'll find myself, it's like same thing, like laying in bed or trying to put the kids to sleep. I'm just scrolling and I'm like, I'm not learning anything. This doesn't feel valuable. It's just rot. And I've tried to make those conscious decisions of when I can. I still find myself reaching for the phone and still scrolling sometimes, but trying to be more mindful in those situations. And even, Ben, as you had mentioned, of like, whenever you decide that it is time to have that dedicated session with family, putting the phones down, being present, because I've also found myself, like when my kids are just in the room playing, if they're not watching the TV, I am the iPad kid. Like I'm looking on my phone while they're just playing, and I'm like, dang, like what are they seeing? And so it's also trying to like see like, how do I change? And again, it's not about perfection. Like I'm not trying to be. If you're a parent, I think you both teed this up. Like it's just screens are a part of daily life now. Like that's just how it is. It's very different than how it was. I think something like over 80% of Americans in the US have a cell phone. Like they're just all around us. And it's not about eliminating them 100%. I know there's definitely a camp that's like, no screens at all. Get rid of everything. But if we're being realistic, it's about balance. And I like the term. I don't remember where I heard it, but I've always used this in my daily life, but it's progress, not perfection, right? Like if you think you're doing better, if you're making small improvements, it's all about your perspective and your family and your situations and routines, but just try to make those incremental steps. I think that's what really matters the most.
Yeah. It's about, it is about being conscious of what your kids are seeing too.
Right.
I think our kids are pretty good about, playing by themselves, playing games. We try to make time where we're doing arts and crafts, especially on the weekends, right? The kids are home all day. They're not in school. It's easy to plop them in front of the TV and just sort of ignore that they exist, right? Until you have to go somewhere. But I think the challenge is, right, is that we're setting that example. So like you guys said, I mean, looking at your screen time, knowing that it's too high, like I even went so far as to get, like, I don't know if you guys can see this little guy.
Brick.
Yeah, the brick, because it's one of those things that like it forces me not to be on my phone. Like it literally locks out. I set all the apps that it locks out and it shuts them out completely. I can't open them. I can't look at them. I can't even bypass it, because the only way to bypass it is you get like these, they call them emergency unlocks. You have to actually, you either have to use the NFC chip in your phone to unlock your phone with the brick, or if you have to like emergency unlock it, you only get 4. And if you run out of the 4, you actually have to call their customer service or email them to get more unlocks. Otherwise, you're stuck. You can only unlock it with the brick itself. So for me, like, even when I'm doing work, I find myself getting distracted by my phone. You pick it up, you go to look something up, and all of a sudden, it's 30 minutes later and you've scrolled through 100 TikToks and a couple of Instagram reels. And so it kills your productivity. And again, it's what is the example that you're setting for your kids? So again, it's not about being perfect. We know we're going to pick up our phones. We know that those apps are designed to addict us to consuming content. But on the other side of it, right? Yeah. On the other side of it, we use it for business. We use it for work. We use it to connect to other people. So there really should be what I think is like a kind of a purpose behind it. And so when we think about screen time and how we're using it, we touched a little bit on being intentional with your screen time. So when it comes to that intentionality, like, where do you guys stand on trying to be either more focused or more intentional about using screens? And Saunders, I'll kick it over to you.
I mean, so to go back to Muamer's point about what he's been trying to do in the evening, right? I intentionally went out and bought an e-reader, like an e-ink Kindle. It wasn't a Kindle, but I bought that device specifically so that I could read books to the kids, because I knew, despite the fact that I've got a plethora of them behind me and that wall is basically all books, the paper wasn't going to cut it. I wasn't going to sit down and read them novels and things like that. But I would sit behind an e-ink tablet and read stories to them. And so that has been useful. I made the mistake of starting 2 different stories as well as a third one for myself. So I am like a chapter into The Hobbit, a little bit through King Arthur, and the Count of Monte Cristo. All, I want to say Crisco, like he's like the Count of, like I'm making food or something. The Count of Monte Cristo, all at the same time on this e-reader, and it's actually surprising to me how satisfying it is to read. Like, I always like e-ink, iPad, whatever, it's the same. And to be fair, I'm the guy who's read 4 novels on his iPhone. Like, so I can do it, but I knew that I would never be able to do that with my phone. Like, I would never be able to read to my kids off my phone. And
there's too many other distractions, too
many notifications, too many emails, too many whatever. I mean, even just doing this, right? I'm distracted by the fact that somebody texted me and it's floating right over there in my vision. And I keep so it's a great single source, and I'm loving that piece of it for reading to the girls. Now, they're 3 and 2, right? I've picked stories. They're not going to understand The Hobbit. I'm going to read The Hobbit like 4 times in my lifetime now, because I'm going to have to read it to them again. And I'm indoctrinating them into the right fantasy kingdom. None of this Harry Potter magic stuff that you guys all want to say is, it's magic. Sorry, it's a trigger. Anyway, so that's been conscious for me. The other thing is the girls only really watch educational kids shows at our house. So Octonauts, again, we talked about Blippi. We do a lot of Sesame Street because I have an HBO Plus subscription. So I actually went back to like the 1967 episode 1 Sesame Street and hit play, which is creepy. Like, go watch that first episode. No. Not even that. Like, within 5 minutes of it starting, it's a guy walking down the street. He meets a little girl, and they peep into the windows of the neighbor's house where Bert and Ernie are taking a bath. Like, that's the first 4 minutes of that episode. And I'm just like, this is so inappropriate. Like, what?
Different times,
right? And anyway, so we're doing a lot of Sesame Street.
Peeping wasn't as frowned upon in the 70s, I guess.
Actually, there's a children's story that it's one of the children's books that my wife and I skip it. It's Wee Willie Winky. And it goes like, Wee Willie Winky runs through the town, upstairs, downstairs, in his nightgown, rapping at the windows looking through the locks. Are the children in the bed? It's past 8 o'clock. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, why is this creepy dude running in a nightgown
Yeah.
looking in on kids?
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
like, what? Sorry, that just but it's ingrained in me. See, I can't forget.
No, it's
the
a
nursery
weird,
rhyme.
like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah. And so I'm very intentional on what the kids watch. Now, they do watch a lot of Mickey Mouse, right? We found that the Mickey Mouse Fun House, and like it's got enough.
Love House.
Yeah, it's got enough good chunks that I'm happy with the fact that it is entertaining.
Yeah.
Other than those, we're really Disney movies, which we can debate on whether Disney movies are good, and adult stuff. Like, it's stuff I'm watching. Like they
Yeah.
they watch Paw Patrol.
When we say adult,
it's
we mean
things that Dad is watching.
Yeah. There's a difference.
Still appropriate.
I'm just saying,
that
Saunders is going to get somebody called on him. He's got knives.
Yeah,
he's got
it's
like adult content playing it. Like, come on.
I'm friends with the local sheriff. We're fine.
We don't want CPS to call you. Someone to call.
But it shows designed for, like, the other night we were watching the cable news, and they sat down and they watched a few minutes, and then they were like, we're not watching the news, and they went and played, right? Because it wasn't engaging, but that's what was being watched at that moment on that screen, because I was following something. And it's intentional, right? It now, when they're with grandma, they've started watching Paw Patrol, and I'm like, there's nothing positive about Paw Patrol. Like, what? Okay. And they like Paw Patrol because it's fun, and right? But
it's fun, it's bright, it moves fast, and there's loud music.
Right. It engages all of those energy, please. And so they've started asking, and I'm like, no. But it's grandma's house. Grandma can treat them to Paw Patrol. Like, do I really care?
Grandma also lets them eat cookies for breakfast, which is, that's what grandmas are for.
She has taught them how to paint and do their letters, and like,
yeah,
she wants to Paw Patrol them. Sure. Go for it. So,
good.
Anyway,
Muamer, what about you? What about your? I know your kids are the youngest of the group, but as far as like intentional screen time consumption, like how do you manage that?
Yeah, and I think it comes down to trying to find like what the right moment is. And there are definitely days where I'm like, especially mornings, my kids wake up so early. They can go to bed at 11 p.m. or 6 p.m. and they will wake up at 5 to 5:30 in the morning every day. And so some morning is just like they're asking to watch TV and I cave. I'm like, you know what? I need it. But I feel like that's okay. Again, I'll try to find something low stim, but we use it when we feel like we just either need to do something. Like just a couple hours ago, I was doing dishes in between making dinner, put Spidey on. Oldest had already gone to bed. The baby was still up. I'm like, hang out for a little bit. Let me get my stuff done. And then the second piece was, again, if we're traveling, like we know it's a break in their routine. It's a break in comfort. So we want to try to make them as comfortable as possible, because selfishly, it's also easier on us to go through that journey of going on a plane ride with kids, which I'm sure at some point we'll talk about again on the pod. But yeah, so like we just try to find the instances of where we think it makes sense and where it's beneficial. But we also want them to understand that it is a privilege. I was going to say reward, but not the right. Like, it's a privilege. Like, we don't have to let them watch TV. And so we are very clear, because as you mentioned, Ben, there are definitely some times where like they will watch a Blippi, or will occasionally put on Paw Patrol. Like, they love the Paw Patrol movie, because they're big in the superheroes right now. So there's like a Paw Patrol superhero one. And, but there's a clear difference between not even just like how they yak, it's in the breakdown. Like, they'll start whining and fussing. And I'm like, nope, we're done. Like, cut it off. And I'm kind of hard and fast on that. So we try to make the at least connection in their minds of I'm not always guaranteed to watch TV. I have to make sure I'm being good and I'm following the rules. So we try to make those correlations, because again, us as parents, we're not going to take away TV. Like, I don't really watch that much TV. Well, kids mainly watch the TV. Whenever I watch football or anything else, somehow I'm stuck watching it on my phone. But
you need a hierarchy like I do with the TV.
Yeah, I know. But we try to make it clear that it's like, this is a privilege. You need to make sure you're acting right. You need to make sure that we're picking the right things and we're not just rotting. And we do the same things. Like, whenever any of the parents are watching them, it's kind of like free reign. We tried even giving guidance of like, please don't do this. But at my mom's house, they'll watch this. I don't know what the show's called, but it's like a baby and a robot. And there is like no educational value here whatsoever. And I walk in and I see that or Baby Shark. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but we do the best we can. And it's, again, just finding the right moments for us that we think it makes sense. But the reason I've tried to focus on it more is I took a note on it before we started. There was a 2022 study that I saw way back when I looked back up from the University of Calgary that interviewed 12,000 families. I found that parents who reported higher phone use and higher TV use reported lower family satisfaction and perceived connection. I'm like, I don't want that to be us. Like, I like that
Yeah.
they watching TV, and I like that it's like a break sometimes, but I also don't want to get to the point where they're older, where they're just like tuning me out and they get these big Coco Melon eyes and just want to be glued to the TV. I'm like, I need to find a way to break that monotony. So that's how we're doing it. But what about you, Ben?
And I think that's a tough part too, right? Like, but I know because I drop my kids off in the morning. My wife goes to work super early. She works in an ICU. So it's, I've got everybody in the morning. And so, one of the things we've really noticed is their ability to either focus or listen or hear you or know that you exist if the TV is on.
Yep.
So in the mornings when we're trying to get them ready, my daughter goes to school a little bit later, so she can watch a show after her brother's gone to school, but he's got to be at school. I mean, we leave for kindergarten at 7:00 in the morning. So he needs to be in class by 7:30. And he's also a kid who needs a lot of sleep. So if he goes to bed at, 8:30 and actually falls asleep, waking up at 6 a.m. for him to get ready is tough, right? It's tough to just get him moving, get him focused, get him dressed, breakfast, all that stuff that we need to do in that what feels like a couple of minutes and really, is half an hour to an hour of time. And so we know that there are times where we just can't watch a show. There's just no way logistically that we can make it work. And then there are other times we use it as, like you guys said, as either, a little bit of a reward where it's like, okay, like one of the things we've started doing is they, on the weekends especially, is they have to earn any time on either an iPad, computer, screen, whatever it is, right? So most of the shows we watch are broken up into like Tumbleleaf is actually 2 episodes in one. So there's actually 15-minute episodes. So they get to watch one 15-minute episode. And then after that, they have to pause the show. And if there's something that needs to be done, like picking up toys or putting their dishes away or some sort of household chore, their job is to take a break, do the chore that's being asked of them, and then they earn the next episode. So we're trying to tie it to, if we do all the other things we need to do, then we get to watch screen time, right? Like, mom and dad have to fold laundry before they can sit down and watch a movie or put the movie on in the background. We have to do the same thing. So it's part of building that connection to the responsibility of being part of the family and knowing that the family unit is responsible for maintaining our home, keeping our stuff picked up, all of that, it's a challenge. You don't just get to zone out and do nothing and not help with anything and not help with dishes and not help with cleaning or not help with putting your clothes away. Those are all part of earning that time to, zone out or relax. So yeah, I think the big message here, right, is that none of us are against screen time, right? Screens exist. It's part of our life now. What we're working towards, again, is not perfection, but it's just doing the best we can to be conscious of what we're watching, conscious of how we're watching, and how we're interacting with that device.
Yeah. No, I know for us, a conscious choice we have made, you don't eat in front of the TV. Popcorn, yes. Occasionally, breakfast, cereal, snacks, right? If dinner's going, everybody eats dinner at the table. That's where you eat. The TV is not on, right? Or if it is on, it's you are facing away from it. And mom and dad don't eat dinner in front of the TV. Like, it's a conscious decision to refocus attention for that. little bit of time, that 30 minutes every night, right? And I think that's, again, I think Ben has it. That's the big message, is you have to be conscious as the parent about how you're interacting with these devices. And that's the part where they become bad, is if you stop being conscious about that interaction.
Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts from you, Muamer?
I think we teed it up, man. It's not, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. So that's all that matters.
Do the best you can, survive your life. Sometimes you got to stick them in front of a screen to get your stuff done, but you know what?
Yeah.
It's okay. We're all living in the real world, right? Nothing is perfect.
And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that we show up on your screen the next time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode of the Dad Verb Podcast. If you want more, head over to your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Spotify, Apple. Make sure you subscribe if this is the first time hearing us, so you get our episodes delivered directly to you. You can also follow us at Dad Verb Podcast on Instagram. We'll be posting more content up there as we kind of break these down into short little consumable snippets. So go doom scroll our stuff. It's actually helpful. And we will see you all in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.